Let's make things real clear. Only a coward brings a gun to a debate. Only a coward shoots at unarmed people that don't even know they're in a gunfight. The left doesn't get their way and they become dangerous. President Lincoln was shot by a Democrat actor that thought he was fighting tyranny. That's their MO and marching order. Your political opposition are as bad as Nazis, why not take a few out? You tell a low IQer that they are Luke Skywalker and he's living under the evil boot of the Galactic Empire, don't be surprised when he jumps into his X-Wing and starts shooting proton torpedoes at everybody's trenches. I mean, who wouldn't shoot Hitler, now knowing what we know? This is part of the fantasy land that makes up their utopia. Some of you are too young to remember, others of you old enough to have suffered through it. The modern Democrats really went off the rails when Al Gore lost to George W. Bush. He wouldn't concede, as Bill Maher thinks is so important. Tons of recounts, people looking at hanging chads. Remember how hanging chads became part of our vocabulary, Snerbley? Grown adults looking at pieces of punched-out paper hanging off an election ballot, trying to confirm if the punch was for Al Gore or George Bush. It's funny now, but we lived it. The same way people look back at the child hormone blockers 20 years from now, laughing and shameful. They lost in 2000 and have been in a steady state of mental decline ever since. They made TV sitcoms about Bush. Late-night TV was the same joke every night, the low-hanging fruit of the defeated left. Snerbley, do you remember that show? What was it called? It was a kids' show parody that was pretty funny. That's right, Wonder Chosen. Wonder Chosen. For those of you that don't follow pop culture, might have missed this. It was a show on MTV that satirized children's educational shows. You know, puppets, cartoons, animated lessons, and what have you. It was not for children, and even warned about it. It went for 2 seasons doing its thing, making people laugh and enjoying the adult nature of the situations and topics of the show. Then George Bush beat Al Gore, and the writers of the show just couldn't help themselves. George Bush beat them, so they brought in a puppet, Middle America, buck teeth, Bush accent, and said things like, "Gip, gulp, hooey." And he always said, "Oh yeah, Texas." They had him change the show to a hee-haw hillbilly show, and even rub their smugness in everyone's face by wasting an entire half-hour episode of this nonsense. They would rather destroy everything than work together. They cannot help themselves. So the Democrats wouldn't even shut up for a moment of silence because they're such vile, contemptible heathens. They'll tell you we need to hold a vigil for a lifelong criminal shot by the police. You need a moment of silence for the MS-13 gang member killed by authorities. They don't feel bad about any of this. This is how the left has controlled power since the dawn of time and power. Through force, threats, and murder. Charlie Kirk was a great conversationalist and engaged many in entertaining debates. Whether you agree or not isn't the point. The point is he went in behind enemy lines of the communist American colleges and debated the morons they're churning out into our society for the rest of us to deal with. He challenged their ideas, at college, exactly where ideas are to be challenged, before being sent willy-nilly out into the world. Hopefully some learn the error of their ways before coming home to their parents at the holidays to tell them how evil they are, how evil the system is, and how to give them more money to return to their propaganda camps on their parents' dime. The Democrats aren't respecting his death because they don't care that he's dead. They're glad. He could communicate his points with others, and that made him a threat. A threat to some low IQ voter that was convinced the only way to stop this kind of diseased mind from spreading was to assassinate him. Another MO of the left. They all fetishize John Wilkes Booth. Remember when that loser with the unibrow executed the CEO? Shot an unarmed man in the back like the textbook definition of a coward. What did they do? They cheered. They made up all kinds of mental gymnastics to explain how it was deserved. Or at the very least, expected. What do you expect when you tell a man with a penis and a beard and a dress he isn't a woman? To the modern left, those are words to kill by. And it goes across the entire emotional, unstable party. Use the N-word. What will happen? Will you be assaulted? Over a word? People think that being called a word is worse than beating someone to death for using it. I'm not defending any racial slurs. They all make you look stupid and instantly lose the argument, whatever it is. It's only the point. Words. Words are why you can't argue with the left, and you can't debate them. They cheer political opponent deaths, and they'll cheer your death. As we've all seen posted online lately, they don't want to kill you for being a Nazi. They call you a Nazi so they can kill you. They'd love to just control you. But if they can't, they'd rather see you dead. You don't think like them, and they can't have access to good ideas running rampant. as their infantile horse-caca ideas would never be entertained without force. Good ideas don't need enforcement, and bad ideas don't need to be censored. People hear common sense and say, yeah, that makes sense. Put your shoe on, then tie it. The Democrats are the opposite. A bad idea is to be entertained and eventually forced on their subjects. No, tie your shoe, then put it on. We're changing things up. It's a revolution. Remember Snerbley? When they tried to come after talk radio after George Bush had won, they were saying talk radio is for the extreme right and gives them violent orders to carry out. And we're actually contemplating a bill to force talk radio to give left-wing talking points equal time. Imagine, folks, me, your lovable little fuzzball, having to take 5 minutes to let some Democrat explain Obama's policies after or during my trashing him. They were so mad that people that worked for a living listened to talk radio. That's how mad they were that no one cared to hear their message. Democrats don't listen to talk. They want to talk. Only the left could be so obtuse to force that. And you can see how it's affected every channel, every TV show now, and every film they make. To quote the critical drinker, the message. So now 25 years later, these lefty wackos are on TV non-stop telling every low IQ voter that electing the right is going to be like living in Nazi Germany. So they shoot at Trump, twice. That little dork would-be assassin from Butler, Pennsylvania was hauled off the news faster than we could learn literally anything about him, except that he was in a BlackRock ad. You can't make this up. A kid with no social media presence in 2024, which no kids have no presence. The whole character. Everything about this kid is whisked away after shooting at Trump, and we'll never know why, or who he was working for. I'd say he could have just been a random crackpot, but when the FBI babe insisted no spotters be on the roofs because they were tilted, you know there's more at play. There's nothing more threatening to the government than a citizen boss. They wanted no part of it, so they tried to kill him, they killed Charlie Kirk, and they'll keep making excuses as more trans shooters attack churches and schools and cover up or hide the manifestos. Their words can't defend their actions or ideology. Cutting off someone's tongue doesn't make anyone believe you are just. It makes everyone know without a doubt you fear the words. They killed the polite, peaceful debater and think another one's coming. It's not. Now you get the Nick Fuenteses, the Milos, and what have you. The reality is our cold civil war was like two ideologies standing on the battlefield shouting insults at each other, waiting for the first punch to be thrown. And then when it comes, in the form of a sucker punch that kills the negotiator they asked for, and now they're terrified of the consequences. Well, the one side you shot at has you outnumbered, outgunned, and outmotivated. They have every reason to be terrified. You think if a civil war happens, the military employees are all blue-haired TikTokers that will take their tanks and equipment to Seattle to help your cause? Or will it be the other way around? Trying to convince all the right-wing gun owners not to shoot at you, that would be bad for America, but you can shoot at them. That's their playbook. Dehumanize my enemies, make it illegal to dehumanize me. Remember the old cartoons making fun of the Japanese and the Germans? Banned. They were the entire world's enemies in a world war, and we made fun of them. Now they look at the cartoons as bad. Not in the context of when they were made, just stop picking on Hitler's Germany and the Japanese. Because the cartoons dehumanized them, poked fun, made fun. The same things they do to you every day, and bring lawyers if you do it back to them. All the rules are for you, not for them. The modern left-wing revolutionary waters at the mouth over the idea of shooting someone that doesn't even know they're in a gunfight. They do it because their words fail, and so do their tantrums. They'll cheer it because it's what they want. The death of their political enemies. Even when it happens on a school campus in front of students, children, and his family. Where the hell were the candlelight vigils for violence on a school campus? Nowhere to be seen. Crickets. Then they'll do everything they can to blame the victim and create a villain that doesn't exist. That's precisely why they refuse to use any of Charlie's quotes in context. They'll never tell the entire empathy-full statement. A certain large, very large part of the left feel it's okay to purposely leave words out of sentences, to make you take their side or help create the monster villain they need. I hate the blacks. I'd much rather use a softer gray tone of paint for the machinery. Nothing wrong with that. But the Democrat talking point will be, he said, I hate the blacks, and then call you a racist. And their low IQ voters are incapable of critical thinking, so they accept it, they run with it, they repeat it. And if you call them out, they'll just switch to personal attacks. Watch any of his videos. Watch the college children not be able to defend their insane belief systems and clench fists Scream and yell, call names and storm off. It's all of them. College is where you're supposed to go to have ideas challenged. Ideas can easily be explained to be enforced. No one has ever had to force a good idea on anyone. Sounds good? Works? Let's do it. Bad ideas always have to be implemented at gunpoint and at the very threat of death without compliance. Mobs of humans turned out in prayer vigils while they burned cities in their grief. Mobs of peaceful people gathered to mourn the loss of someone that cared about others. In their small, cold heart, they're envious knowing no crowds will mourn the loss of them. Maybe your 3 cat lady roommates, but only until they get a new roommate. Let's just take one example, the empathy versus sympathy quote, or meaning. Your wife of 20 years died in a fire. Empathy is insulting, inserting yourself into the tragedy. I feel as bad as you do. Sympathy is about understanding and acknowledging the pain of another. I feel horrible that happened to you. They don't know sympathy. An entire generation of young skulls full of mush can't sympathize with anyone because all they know is to insert themselves into everything. You know how it is. You're at a bar or a party or golfing and you say, I slipped on a banana peel and fell and hit my head. Sympathy would be everyone just acknowledging your story, asking you what happened, asking what hurt, how you feel, what have you, and so forth. Empathy has been the narrative for years. Every answer now is, oh yeah, well, I slipped on a bunch of bananas and fell off a building and down into traffic. An entire generation one-upping each other's misery, thinking it's a connection or understanding, but never taken that way because for some sick delusional reason, they see everything through the lens of victim. You're getting all the attention because your wife died? I want some of that too. It's the same reason every liberal babe over 30 has multiple mental issues listed on their dating profiles now. The victimology Olympics of the left, where they all want the gold medal. Long math proves what you've learned. The left just copies answers and can't explain them. That's why they get so flustered and clenched-fisted, and the words stop and the screeching starts. No one taught them anything. The kids that ended up on the right used thinking skills to separate good ideas from the bad. Good idea, that works, let's use it. There's a paper trail of thought. The left has none of this. They go with what sounded good, and that's where it stopped. Conservative explains how the combustion engine works, the liberal just shrugs and says it should run on water. They can't back up what they believe or put it to test in reality, so they fall apart, start name-calling, and drop to the ground screaming and shouting and what have you. And they bring a gun to a debate, not understanding just how frail civil society can be. All it took was the life of Franz Ferdinand to kick off World War I. And keep in mind, folks, 5 of the 6 assassins were under 20 years old, even in 1914. They think they're up against Darth Vader and the Empire so they can cosplay as rebels. It's more as if they're cosplaying Cobra the Enemy, but I digress. They've been duped by the internet, public school teachers, college professors, all backing up their delusions. These are the adults in their lives that should know better. Riling kids up for an imaginary bloody civil war they themselves won't be involved in. They're despicable. Any of you that have studied here at the Limball Institute for Advanced Conservative Studies, you lucky, lucky students, know what we believe in all that. It's nonsense. Bloody civil war is not needed. We have a peaceful civil war every 2 years in a ballot box. If not, then we are the third world with better Wi-Fi. We don't take to the streets and target our neighbors. People get offended and will actually ask, you think America's better? Then all of that, yes. That's the point of how this place was set up. We don't shoot unarmed people in the back. And those that do are cowards, not heroes. We weren't selling unibrow shooter t-shirts. How many teachers of your children have been on the internet mocking an assassination, feeling as if they are immune from the consequences? Well, where in the hell do you think they got that kind of confidence? Because it's endorsed by their entire political party. Charlie Kirk was murdered by a typical low-IQ Democrat that can't win a debate. Knows they can't win a debate. So plan to silence their opposition with fear and violence and have the audacity to call others fascists. It would be funny if it wasn't so sad. If it was the other way around and a leftist was murdered by a conservative, it would be 24/7 coverage of calling out the action. The Emmys wouldn't even lower themselves, not one single person, to even simply say political assassinations are not okay in America. But they all know they'd be booed off stage. If it was the other way around, a left-wing influencer would be the star of the show. Every acceptance speech would be specifically all about it, dedicated to them, etc. We make fun of our opponents on here and mock every insanely stupid idea they come up with. Make fun, mock, laugh at, debate, insult, all you want. But it stops at violence. Opposite of what the media will tell you, we are not like that. We are not like them. They'll laugh and roll their eyes, but I'd expect no less from adults with brains that aren't firing above a 6th grade level. But I was thinking, if the same thing happened to someone on the left for simply speaking their mind, we, the right, would be the loudest ones denouncing it and demanding justice. Just because we don't like you doesn't mean we want you dead. I don't need you dead to defeat you. I just need anyone with common sense watch you try to explain the answer you copied from someone else's bumper sticker. Justice and freedom are not only doled out to one political side in America. We would be appalled if it happened to anybody. They just cheer now in silence or in hiding because they know most Americans are disgusted by their behavior. Charlie Kirk was showing everyone that anyone that knows their long math can debate these paper-tigered fools. And he proved that they're not used to their fantasyland ideas meeting any sense of reality. Their parents are failing them, their teachers are failing them, so their goal is chaos and the destruction of America. Like a toddler kicking the leg of an adult, pulling them away from traffic. They're ignorant and just don't know any better. They took Charlie Kirk away and thought it would stop an ideology. From what I've seen, it completely backfired and just turned the middle-of-the-road voters against them. Because despite all your hippy-dippy peace and love imagery, you've showed everybody your true colors. And you've amplified Charlie because more voices are now louder than ever. Against you, your policies, your ideas, your tantrums. Everyone is tired of you drilling holes in the boat we're all trying to survive on. They thought we'd give up. Never time to give up on America. Never time to give up on the ideas that make us the greatest. Let the Democrats act like that. You can get upset. You can get frustrated. You can even feel defeated and fall. But you've got to get back up. You're worth it. America's worth it. And always will be.